So some of you might remember from last July when I had a fantasy football form that I could use to track all of our internal fantasy football games. Now I have access to App Platform, which means now I can track all of our March Madness brackets via App Platform. So welcome to our new world. ESPN has a brand new API that's available that's entirely undocumented. So this was a good experiment for me to kind of play with an API that's collecting that I can only view via DevTools that's entirely undocumented, and I can figure out what's going on out there. So it was also fun to play with some HTML, and thanks for Daniel with an A for letting me know that Marquee works in App Platform. So much appreciated there. And Kelvin, you got some extra cat gifts in this open mic, so appreciate that as well. So it was a good chance to play with data tables in App Platform. Most of these requests are actually just single API calls to. So we take the visitor counter at the top, fully functional visitor counter, and all it's really actually doing is pulling out the an org variable and updating it each time the page is refreshed. So the nice thing about App Platform is you can call a workflow to run every time the page loads. So every time the page loads, grabs the integer, increments it, and brings it back up the next number. For the scoreboard down below, this is just a standard data table. It again runs the workflow every time that the data table is loaded. App Platform lets you pick a couple different ways to load data for data type tables. Either you can run it every time the page is loaded, or you can do something like down below where nobody's picks are going to change throughout the week. So I only need to call this once a day to pull today's picks, and we don't need to keep refreshing that data and calling that data back. In the meantime, for those ones that you do run on demand, you can actually refresh it and get live up-to-date data. Sorry if any of you are trying to avoid watching scores for today's games until later, but now you're spoiled. The other cool thing you can do with App Platform is do links out to external resources. So these watch and gamecast links for each game will actually take you to the link for the game just to continue watching it from there, or you can pull up the gamecast and see the actual scores of everything. Visitor counter is pretty simple, straightforward one there. We've got the scoreboard request, which just makes a single HTTP request and pulls out the Jinja for each link and game that's available for it. You have the group data for our scores down below in our current standings. So each game each bracket is looped through, and then the max possible score is determined based on how many games are left and available out there. And then down below, you get a pretty little graph of that same data where it will tell you the maximum score a team could get versus the score that is still available or that their current score is. From there, you can also see the propositions and today's picks that each bracket has made. So this is probably the most complicated workflow of this App Platform page. It gets the list of all the games for the day. It gets the group data from our group, which is all managed via input variables. So if I want to change this to next year or to another team, I can easily do so. Grabs each individual bracket with a with items, loops through them, and then brings it down and loops through and creates all the picks for each bracket for each week or for each day. This one's running on a cron job, so it runs at 11 a.m. Central every day, which is right before the games start, which means it refreshes today's pick table right before the games start.